Globalization has had a deep and immediate impact on us, and above all on linguistic and cultural aspects. The rapid development of information technology and communication has changed many aspects of our daily lives, and thanks to the diffusion of the means of mass communication and to the rapid technological development of the last decades, we have witnessed to a large production and distribution of audiovisual products of any type at a global level. Recently, we have seen a real audiovisual revolution with the creation of satellite television channels, internet, mobiles, and film products. Therefore, we have access to a large variety of audiovisual materials that come from all over the world. In parallel with this, communication has obtained an increasing important role in our society, so important that it has become a real product on the international market. For this reason, the role of languages, and in particular those activities related to linguistic transfer, have obtained an increasing importance over the last years, because they are essential for the diffusion of information and to spread knowledge and contacts at international level. A new need has risen, that is the need to eliminate every kind of barriers, linguistic, cultural, and sensory barriers, that don't allow a full accessibility and usability of the products distributed by audiovisual and multimedia technologies to an increasing large and heterogeneous audience in terms of age, sex, level of education, language, culture, and accommodation capacity. In this connection, the audiovisual translation represents one of the most important means to diffuse information through the integrated force of different semiotic modalities like gestures, look, posture, sounds, and the written spoken code. We define audiovisual translation as the all linguistic transfer models that aim to translate the original dialogues of audiovisual products in order to make them accessible to a wider audience. In translation studies, a distinction can be made between interlingual and intralingual translation, depending on whether translation occurs between two languages or in one language. Interlingual translation involves two or more languages. It is a translation from one language to another or a reinterpretation of the message in another linguistic code, while intralingual translation is a translation within a language which will involve explaining it in educational support in different situations of language learning, even in the case of the deaf. Even the figure of the visual translator has changed during the time, assuming more importance and responsibility. The quality of a text translation with subtitles depends on him, so he has to write down dialogues and translate the original text, adapting it to the target language. Then a revision is necessary. A good translator notes the critical parts in the source text, like words or some difficult expressions or colloquialism, that are not directly translatable from one language to another. Subtitling is an exciting area of translation, and together with dubbing is one of the best audiovisual translation techniques, which is included in subordinate translation, due to time and space restrictions that affect the final result. The translation depends on these parameters, and it doesn't just translate the dialogue, but also other meaningful language in films, such as signs, letters, captions, and other written words, and is also based on images and audio with a certain time and space. This subtitles task is difficult because subtitles are so limited in space, about 35 characters per line and a maximum of 2 lines, and time because subtitles should not stay on the screen longer than 6 seconds. The result is that the content of the dialogue has to be cut down to fit in the subtitles and translated, and subtitles also have to be spotted or timed carefully to match the dialogue. Subtitles are among the most important means that help the deaf to hear with the eyes, and together with sign language interpretation, they are the service for the access to television and cinema, breaking that silence that surrounds them. Sign language is a real language to all intents and purposes. It transmits the meanings using and combining and shapes orientation, and movements of the hands, arms, or body and facial expressions. Hundreds of sign language are in use around the world because it is not an international language, so every sign can assume different meanings from a country to another. Even blind people have the right to fully enjoy the spectacle of cinema. For this reason, the audio description technique is fundamental, because it represents an integration tool within the social cultural context. It consists of a narrator talking through the presentation, describing what is happening on the screen or stage during the natural pauses in the audio. The language has to be clear and real, and most important thing is the presence of a blind person during the audio description process. According to the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, drafted in 2006, state parties recognize the right of persons with disabilities to participate fully in the cultural life on an equal basis with the others, and they should take appropriate measures to ensure that persons with disabilities have access to television programs, films, theater, and other cultural activities without discrimination on the basis of disability. The accessibility to television and films seems to be a goal still far away from people with sensory disabilities, but it is a fundamental prerogative to be able to play an active role within society. Talking about deafness and blindness using cinema and audiovisual products as tools, and not using an ideological and medical approach, could be an excellent solution that leads to the awareness of the institution and public opinion on sensory disability, victim of stereotypes, prejudice, and discrimination due to incorrect and inaccurate information.